राहुल जी अनम्यूट कर दीजिए।
हाँ सर। अच्छा अच्छा।
हाँ सॉरी, म्यूट कर दीजिए।
हाँ हाँ।
So, without wasting much of the time, and now the session is also live on YouTube. So, as I already told you that speaker madam has already joined the session. So, on the behalf of Navsari Agricultural University, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to uh, Swasti Sarita Kundu madam for sparing her very valuable time to be in the session, which is exclusively meant for imparting learning among us experiential learning program students. So, Madam has actually uh, experience of more than 13 years, and she has been associated as in retail and corporate MSME and agri loan appraisals, customer relationship management, business development, and team management. And right now, she is working as Assistant General Manager, Assets, Kolkata Zonal Office, and she has expertise in monitoring of entire MSME, and agri loan portfolios. So, I would now request Madam to take this proceeding.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning. Once again, good morning, everybody. And at the outset of this session, I initially want to really give my heartfelt thanks to the entire faculty and team of Navsari Agriculture University for giving me this opportunity to take a session with the students and imparting whatever little knowledge I have regarding banking with you all. And then I want to say sorry also because I mean this holiday today. It's a Sunday, and I'm like making you people sit for this session. That I assure you that this will be a. I mean, it will be a good one. I will try and impart whatever little knowledge I have gained in banking sector, so that it will help you grow and start your new agri business. So to start with, actually, I have prepared a presentation. To just give me a few seconds, I will first present that to you, and simultaneously we will continue this session as well.
Uh, well, it is requested. Sorry, madam, but there is one message from IT department that I want to convey to the students that keep your microphone mute Otherwise, there is a problem of echo and it will not be clearly audible in YouTube Live. So it is my humble request to students to keep your microphone mute. Thank you.
Are the slides visible now?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the session that we are going to have today is basically on agriculture entrepreneurship and banking synergy program. See, I mean, what happens is like there is a gap between a layman who wants to start an agribusiness or any kind of business in that matter, for that matter, and the banking sector. We always have a notion that whenever we go or walk into a bank with some kind of business proposition, it gets rejected for some other reason by the bankers, and we do not get opportunity to start a business. So here the agenda of this session will be bridging that gap. See, if I want to start a business and I know what are the documents that are actually required, what are the things that I have to take care of before startup of a business, before applying for a loan to a bank, if I know in detail and then I go to a bank and apply for a loan, I'm sure nobody is going to deny that. And for that matter, let me tell you, even banks and the total finance sector, in fact, in India has become very competitive now. And we also work on a target based system. We actually go out in the market and look out for customers like, I mean, and business entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs to actually get business. And if we get walk-in customers like you that who wants to go for a business and has a proper planning with a proper planning and all, so I think no bank will ever deny that. To start with the session, I have actually got to know, I mean, from a magazine shared by Vadamulai Group, I got to know that actually within this COVID-19 pandemic, our agriculture sector has really done very good. As per the associate analysis, we found that agriculture, forestry, and fishery has emerged as the second largest contributor to India's GDP. Kudos to all the agriculturists. And it is well above the manufacturing sector. In fact, what we have done is we have showed an annualized growth of 3.4%, contributing as much as 4.54 lakh crore during the first quarter of the financial year itself. That's actually a very big achievement. And in fact, there's one more thing what I saw was in September 2020, the exports have also really increased. The rice exports have increased by 94%. The cereals have increased by 337% and the oil seeds by 36%. That means we are actually doing good. So, this is actually a very big stellar performance for agriculture among this COVID-19 pandemic, where all other businesses have actually slowed down. Now, just to continue with the success story, I just have three slides on three people, three agri entrepreneurs who were just like us. They were, they were just they have had some very common background. They were working. And after that, what they have done is they have now joined agriculture and become agriculturists and have become agri entrepreneurs. So I just wanted to tell you about three people. Mr. Rajendra Bhatt, he is an agriculturist in Badlapur, Maharashtra. Mr. Rahul Dhoka, he is a promoter of Green Rush Organics and Aqua Farms. Sri Parthasarthi Nara, founder of CEO Ananta Naturals. I will not take much time on this. Just wanted you people to actually get motivated and actually start your businesses after you finish your college. So let's start with Mr. Rajendra Bhatt. See, the best thing that I read about him was he says that there are certain people in agriculture sector who are there in agriculture sector because they do not have any other choice. And that's a fact. And there are some other people who have actually bid farewell to their high-paid IT jobs or MNCs, and they have joined agriculture to get good profit, health-wise and monetary-wise. But what Mr. Rajendra Bhatt thinks is something is a really good thought, it's a noble thought. He says that what we receive from Earth, we are bound to give it back. Sustenance of an ecosystem is his aim and vision. To my surprise, I got to know that he has a lush 5-acre big farm and has grown 187 varieties of fruits, vegetables, and medicinal plants. And it is called as Nisarg Mitra. It's in Maharashtra, Badlapur, Maharashtra, and people actually think that it's not a even the project. It's a forest. Now, moving on to the next slide, I want to tell you about Mr. Rahul Dhoka. Mr. Rahul, as can be seen from the slide as well, Mr. Rahul actually hails from Rajasthan, but he grew up in Chennai. Seeing his education background, you can see that it is, I mean, he has done his graduation from industrial biotechnology. Then he moved to UK to complete his master's. Then he was there with a pharma company for a small time. And then suddenly he realized, no, actually, I need to go back to my roots. And what he did was he started a organic retail store 5 years ago by name Green Rush Organics. He did good in that. And then later what he did was he moved on to a new venture called hydroponic farming. I'm sure I need not describe hydroponic farming here to you because I know you people are technologically more sound than me. See, hydroponic farming, he thought, this will be good because in the area where he is now in Chennai, or for that matter, in all the coastal areas where actually, we are prone to cyclones, we are prone to floods. He thinks that this will be a good alternative way of farming actually. So now what he has done is he has formed another company called Aqua Farms, where he does consultation and he also sets up hydroponic systems for people who would like to try out hydroponics at their homes and grow greens and vegetables for themselves. So any kind of ideas you want on this, you can reach out to Mr. Rahul Dhoka. Then just going on to the third slide, it's about Mr. Parthasarthi Nara. He is the founder and CEO of Ananta Naturals. Perhaps owing to the fact that he hails from an agriculture family, even 11 years of IT could not keep Mr. Nara from giving into his agriculture dreams. See, he has a different dream now. Okay. He went since 2009, he left his 11 years old IT job and he came back to his roots. He started farming, he started cultivating various horticultural and agricultural crops. But now what he thinks, his vision is actually, he says that what we do is we start a business or we start producing, and the last part is the marketing of the produce. And that actually gets very difficult. See, for every business we do, for everything we do for our living, what we need is an income. If we do not get any income or profit from that, it's really difficult for us to survive. So selling for agriculture produce is actually very hard, and still now things are not that easy in India. Now he plans on creating a platform for marketing of organic and natural farm products because that is quite a concern in the agriculture sector. Today, Mr. Parthasarthi markets organic produce under the brand name Ananta Naturals. So I think enough of motivation now. So we should move on to the actual session. So what my next slide says is, see, let's come to the basic thing. Now, if I go for agriculture, okay, what are the basic financial requirements of agriculture as per banks? There are 3 types of loans. Now, I am continuing with the slides. I will finish this session. But in between, if you have any doubt or any kind of queries, please feel free to interrupt me anytime you want to. I really want this session to be interactive. I know it's an online session. It's kind of a different session. Rather, face-to-face interactive sessions actually give good results. But still, Since because of this pandemic, we do not have any other way out, so we are going for this. So at least whatever doubts you have, please feel free to ask. See, I am sitting here as a banker. Anything, any ideas you have, any queries you have about approaching to a bank, about starting a new business, whatever you have in mind, please feel free to ask. Now, coming to this slide of financial requirements of agriculture. See, as per banking norms and as per the basic requirement of agriculture as well, there are three types of credit requirements in agriculture sector. One is development loan, another is loan for cultivation of crops, and the third one is loans for allied activities. See, the development loans, by telling development loans, I hereby mean that these are investment loans. Loans that we actually give for developing of the land, like leveling, fencing, and preparation of beds, and installation of irrigation system, construction of different polyhouses or greenhouses, storage mechanisms, farm mechanization, all are actually clubbed as development loans. And the second is crop loan. That is a basic loan for farming. The basic loan that is required for cultivation is called crop loan. And there are other short-term and long-term loans for agri-allied activities as well. The agri-allied activities here includes your poultry farming, dairy farming, goat rearing, sericulture, and all that. Now, continue with that, what is the role of banks in promoting agribusiness? See, I mean, initially way back when banking sector was not organized, when the financial sector was not organized in India, our farmers or agriculturists mostly dependent on money lenders for starting of a business, for their farming activities, for every small kind of consumption needs as well. See, the finance was always available, but it was not organized. The rate of interest was very high. It was not streamlined, and people, basically the farmers, were really trapped in that debt cycle. So whatever they produced, whatever the income they got was actually going into repaying their loans and giving them no scope to grow. But now things have changed. Now the financial sector in India is very organized. We have scheduled commercial banks. We have NBFCs, non-banking financial corporations. We have MFIs, microfinance institutions, and we have cooperative banks as well. So now the competition is tough for bankers also. So every bank is now actually promoting agribusiness and welcoming people who want to actually take help from us to start their new business. See, for a developing country like us, like India, we are referred to as the backbone of the agriculture sector, and it is our responsibility and commitment to straighten the agriculture sector lending. For banks, financial agriculture is not just financing an economic activity, but the creative act that has larger dimension of the well-being of the entire farming community that is occupied in agriculture sector, ensuring food security of the country and creation of a sustainable environment for future cycle of agriculture production as well. Now coming to the agribusiness department of banks. See, every bank or every financial institute has dedicated a different department for agribusiness loans. And here within the banks, we have three types of lending that we look to take care of. One is retail agri lending, another is corporate agri lending, and another is funding farmers through corporates. So we'll go in depth what these mean actually. In between, what I have chalked out is like after this, I will present to you some products, some important products of agribusiness that we actually look into, or the mainly the important ones or the more common projects that we get. I will be sharing the slide and I will be sharing some more model projects as well with you that we use while assessing our loans. See, what we do is whenever we start a new business, what we do is like, as a layman, we do not have any idea to actually how to start. How do I plan my project? What are the costs involved? What are the recurring expenses that are involved? How do I calculate my income? What we do? We usually go to CAs, chartered accountants, we go to consultants, we pay them consultancy fees, we get a project report, and then we go to banks. I really want you people not to get dependent on them. This project reports are very simple. You can get model project reports from ICAR. NABARD has such good project reports in their websites. You can follow them. And I will be, after this session, will be sharing some model project reports that is an Excel with Sanjeev sir that can be shared with you. It is simple mathematics, nothing, no rocket science, nothing. All the costs of headings are there. You have to just put the units, you have to just put the quantity, and the calculation will be done. You will get to know what is the cost of the project, what are the recurring expenses, how do you assume what income you will get, what is the amount of EMI or loans that you have, or the payback period. And then you can calculate, after deducting all these things, what is the profit that you will be getting from the business, whether the business will be viable or not. It is very simple, because see, even we bankers, we do not have any exposure of business, but still we assess that whether this business is viable or not on the basis of the model projects that we have, that our bank has shared with us. We take the help from NABARD, we take the help from ICR. So if we are able to assess that, I'm sure you will be able to do that yourself as well. Now coming to the next slide. See, I mean, for a न्यू स्टार्टअप लाइक मतलब चलो आज बिजनेस कुछ हम लोग ऐसे सोचते हैं कि नहीं यार कुछ नया बिजनेस स्टार्ट करेंगे तो इफ यू स्टार्ट अ न्यू बिजनेस व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट शुड कम टू माय माइंड क्या मतलब बेसिक चीजें क्या हैं जो मुझे एक्चुअली सोचना पड़ेगा टू स्टार्ट अ न्यू बिजनेस for this I have pointed out. I was starting of an agri business, but any kind of business you actually need this. First is the business plan or the project. Like I said, the project report or the business plan. It will include the cost benefit analysis of the project, the financial planning that needs to be done with the projected rate of interest and the payback period. This cost benefit analysis is very important. Before starting a business or before proposing for a loan, before applying for a loan, first we as businessmen, we should understand that whether this business is viable or not, it is profitable or not, should I actually go for this or not. And then after that, we have to find a suitable location. The location here means the land on which I will be constructing something or I will be doing a cultivation as per the storage and distribution requirements. See, if I choose and if I go for a land where I want to go for cultivation, I need to see whether it is well connected to road, whether there is a nearby cold storage available to store my produce, because we know mostly the agriculture except for cereals and pulses, mostly the flowers or the vegetables that we grow are very perishable in nature and they have a very low shelf life. So we need to think about the storage as well. So keeping all these things in mind, then we go for a choosing of a land, a suitable location for our project. And then what we think of is obtaining various permissions and licenses. See, for starting off any business, you will be requiring certain permissions and license from the local authority. And that will vary from business to business. See, if you go for simple cultivation and all, very less permissions are required. But if you go for other type of agribusiness like poultry farming or a dairy farming, or you want to go to set up a cold storage, then different type of license will actually be required. And then after this, what I will think of is, where will I get the funds from? The financial arrangement. there will definitely be some funds with me, but definitely I'll be requiring some funds from external sources as well. So there are two things available with us for as financial arrangement. One is the subsidy that is given by provided by government, and the financial assistance that I will be getting from the banking and the FI sector. Now then, like I said, then we have to think of our storage and transportation. And last but not the least, the marketing of the produce. The marketing of the produce is actually important. We have to see and we have to go for different type of marketing arrangements with different retailers, wholesalers. We can even go for exports. The marketing of our produce is also very important. And these things actually require, I mean, these are actually these are the points, main points that we require to plan before we go for a new startup. Now moving on to our next slide. Like I said, I will focus mostly on 3 to 4 products that is, I mean, very predominant in banking sector now. These are the projects that people are coming into for loans to banks. So I'll start with cultivation of Gerbera in a polyhouse. See, very honestly, I'm not going to more technicalities because I feel you people are more technically way advanced than what we bankers are. So technically, if we see, the polyhouse is or a greenhouse is a very suitable thing for growth of flowers like gerbera, for some gerbera, carnation, for some exotic flowers as well. And we use greenhouse, polyhouse for capsicum and all as well. See, gerbera, as we know, is a very beautiful flower. It has a wide range of colors and it lends themselves beautifully to different floral arrangements. And gerbera, we know they are actually good for exports as well. They are gerbera growth when cultivation of gerbera in a polyhouse has actually been a very profitable business for very good farmers and agriculturists. Now coming to the major heads of cost that is included in gerbera cultivation in a polyhouse. So it is land and site development. Now, before I start with this, in all the projects on this level, going ahead in the slides that I show you, the model projects that I will show you, we do not consider the cost of the land in the project report. The project report that you will be preparing, you will be including that. But since banks usually do not fund for the purchase of the land, so we do not include that cost in our assessment. For if you go for any kind of cultivation, the first and foremost thing that bankers will see that the borrower will have a good cultivable land. It can be owned by them. It can be they might have inherited. So it should be in their name, or should even if it is in the name of the relatives as well. So that can also be done, but those relatives will be pulled into as guarantors. See, if we don't have land, we go for long-term lease and tenancy as well. From this lease of land can be taken from government and as well as from public bodies. Even private leases are also allowed. But if we go for a private lease, the lease term should be at least for 10 years. And at least it should be the residual period of the lease should be the loan period plus 3 years. To just continue with the major heads of cost that is included in a polyhouse is land and site development, the civil structures that we construct, the drip irrigation and fogger system that has to be constructed, the plantation development, the miscellaneous farm equipment that we will use, and the recurring costs or the operating expenses that we will face. Now the next slide will show you a model project or the assessment that we bankers do. See, it's very simple. I mean, it's quite visible. it's visible that it's very simple. See, if you go see the heading of land and site development. See, for land development, we have taken a lump sum of around 50,000 rupees. Then for site development, we go for fencing as well. For that, we for a quantity of 1,000 and with a unit cost of 50, the total cost comes out to 50,000. And then we need a borewell as well. So if you go for one borewell, then the cost will be around 60,000 rupees. So the total cost for land and site development comes out to be 1,60,000. So it's very simple. Here I am presenting you in a PPT form, but if you see, when I share this Excel sheet with you, formulas are already there. You just have to input your quantity and unit cost. See, because unit cost will vary according to from state to state, and from the time to time things will vary. So if we put these values, then you will get to know the cost. Then comes the civil structure. Now the civil structure here includes the office or the pack house, the labor quarters, and the water tank. Here also the cost of civil structure, see the unit is in square feet, LS here means lump sum, and the cost comes out to around 3,75,000. Now comes the main thing, that is a polyhouse structure that includes the steel structure, the plastic that we put in. So a unit here is taken as square meter, and the quantity will be required, assume that it will be a 4,000, and the unit cost is 650. That comes out to be 26 lakh. Now the next thing is on drip irrigation and the fogger system. See, here also we have taken a lump sum amount, and the amount comes out to be 4 lakh. And the plantation development here includes bed preparation, soil sterilization, and planting. So here also the cost comes out to be 9 lakh. Now, including all this cost, this is actually the capital cost that is involved. See, for any kind of project, there are two types of costs will be involved. One is the capital cost to actually erect that structure, and the other is the operating cost or the recurring cost, the cost that we will have to bear every year. The capital cost will mostly be one time, because once the thing is constructed, this cost is over. But the operating cost will be recurring in nature, and that you have to bear every year. So now here the capital cost comes out to be 44,85,000. See, how banks help you is, for this capital cost, we will be providing you term loan. And for the recurring cost, for the operating cost, see, सिर्फ ऐसा तो नहीं होता कि आपने construction कर दिया, poly house बना दिया, या फिर storage बना दिया, and your work is over. You will require funds every year to actually run the business, to run the show. और आपको recurring expenses के लिए भी पैसा चाहिए, and that is what we call is working capital. So when you go to banks will help you with two loans. One is a term loan. Term loan will be for the construction, for the capital costs, and there will be cash credit or working capital loan for your recurring expenses. Now see, for a term loan, what bankers usually do is like they will want you to bring in your money as well. ऐसा नहीं होता कि यार कि मतलब 100% आपने ये प्रोजेक्ट बनाया, चलो 50 लाख का प्रोजेक्ट है, यू गो टू बैंक और मुझे बोलो कि आप बैंक को बोलो 50 लाख दे देने के लिए. नो, दैट डजंट हैपन दैट वे. यू हैव टू पंप इन योर मनी एज वेल. In general, bank will fund you 75% of the loan project, and 25% of the project will actually have to be, when the amount has to be brought in by you. आपको खुद अपना पैसा लगाना पड़ेगा. See, as a banker, in the banker point of view, मैं आपको बताती हूँ क्यों ऐसा होता है. Why do banks do not fund for 100%, and why they want you to be contributing something? वो 10% हो, 25% हो, कुछ भी हो, क्यों आपसे contribution मांगा जाता है? So that you also have a feel of ownership in that project. It's a human tendency. क्या होता है ना कि चलो बैंक से लोन लिया, बैंक का ही पैसा है, अगर ये कहीं कुछ बाद में प्रॉब्लम होता है, इश्यू होता भी है, तो व्हाट कस्टमर्स थिंक कि नहीं चलो ठीक है, मेरा पैसा तो नहीं लगा है ना. To change that mindset, to check that mindset, and to definitely to check our, I mean, delinquencies of banks propose कि आप जो भी बिजनेसेस हो, कोई भी बिजनेस हो, उसमें मार्जिन कस्टमर का भी होना चाहिए. But 25 in general, 25% you have to bring in, 75% bank will be giving you. So to start, I mean, to go for a polyhouse project, if the total cost has come out to be 44 lakh 85,000, so 34 lakh you will get as a term loan from bank, and the rest 10 lakh 85,000 you have to arrange. Now see, this the best thing here is कि actually 10 lakh 85,000 भी आपको लाना नहीं है, क्योंकि ये चीज, ये एग्रीकल्चर बिजनेस में यही एक सबसे फायदा है, the huge subsidies available from different boards which has been enabled by government. Now if you see, यहाँ पे हमें सब्सिडी भी मिलता है. तो अगर आपको अराउंड 50% कैपिटल सब्सिडी मिल रहा है, तो आपको वो 10 लाख, तो अगर 50 लाख का आपका एक्चुअल कॉस्ट है, तो 25 लाख का सब्सिडी ही आपको मिल जाएगा गवर्नमेंट से. एंड आउट ऑफ दैट 25 लाख, उसमें से आप 25% आपको देना है एंड 75% बैंक हैज टू पे. देन द कॉस्ट इज एक्चुअली रिड्यूसिंग ए लॉट. ये बेनिफिट आपको मोस्टली एग्री बिजनेस में ही मिलेगा, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट is actually trying and promoting and encouraging people to go into this business. Now coming to my next slide, see this is, I mean, it is you can go through this slide, I mean, after this session is over. मतलब ये एक बस calculation हुआ है कि, I mean, if the plant population is so much, इतना yield होता है, तो how much you will be getting and all. So now coming to the financial arrangement, सही जैसा I said कि फाइनेंशियल अरेंजमेंट में आपका दो चीज रहता है, एक तो सब्सिडी रहता है और एक बैंक लोन रहता है. फॉर पॉली हाउस और फॉर ग्रीन हाउसेस यू गेट ह्यूज सब्सिडी ऑफ अराउंड 50% फ्रॉम नेशनल हॉर्टिकल्चर मिशन. सी नाउ सिंस वी आर, आई मीन, वी विल आगे के स्लाइड्स में भी वी विल बी स्पीकिंग अबाउट सब्सिडीज. तो आई लेट मी टेल यू समथिंग अबाउट द सब्सिडीज, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सब्सिडीज दैट वी गेट, what these subsidies actually mean. See, there are, I mean, एक तो आपका कैपिटल सब्सिडी होता है, ठीक है, आपका इंटरेस्ट सब्सिडी होता है, आपका इंटरेस्ट सबवेंशन होता है, एंड बैक एंडेड सब्सिडी होता है. नाउ व्हाट इज कैपिटल सब्सिडी? सी, जब आपको ये हॉर्टिकल्चर में, हॉर्टिकल्चर नेशनल हॉर्टिकल्चर मिशन आपको 50% कैपिटल सब्सिडी दे रहा है, दैट मीन्स अपफ्रंट वो लोग आपको 50% प्रोजेक्ट का जो अमाउंट है वो आपको अपफ्रंट 50% देंगे. तो दैट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग. 50% तो आपका वहीं पे हो गया और आपने अपना प्रोजेक्ट शुरू किया. ये सब्सिडी जो आपको मिलता है, आपको डायरेक्ट जाके आपको, इफ यू गो टू द बोर्ड्स एंड अप्लाई फॉर सब्सिडी, यू विल नॉट गेट दैट इन दैट फॉर्म. व्हाट हैपेंस इज, यू जैसे आपने प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट बनाया, यू गेट योर डॉक्यूमेंट्स, यू गो टू बैंक्स, आप बैंक्स गए, you apply for the loan, banks will assess the viability of the project, and they find that it is actually viable, it is profitable, everything is as per norms. Then they will issue you a sanction letter. On the basis of that sanction letter, you have to go to the boards for application of subsidy. In fact, मैं आपको बता दूं, अभी ये सब करने की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है, because banks in themselves are doing so. तो आप ये कर सकते हो, इफ यू कैन गो फॉर, मतलब गो देयर एंड अप्लाई फॉर सब्सिडी, राइट. ये आपका सब्सिडी लेने का प्रोसेस हो गया. तो कैपिटल सब्सिडी इज द सब्सिडी दैट यू गेट अपफ्रंट. देन देयर इज बैक एंडेड सब्सिडी. बैक एंडेड सब्सिडी में व्हाट हैपेंस इज, लाइक अपफ्रंट आपको पूरा, जैसे 50 लाख में आपको 25% आपको देना है, 75% आपको बैंक से लोन लेना है. एंड देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज, आफ्टर द प्रोजेक्ट इज कंप्लीटेड, उस टाइम, उसके बाद when we give a report to the respective boards or the respective department, they release the subsidy. बोलते हैं हाँ चलो ठीक है, प्रोजेक्ट हो गया है, now the project is viable, जो बंदा है वो आराम से उसने अपना प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट कर लिया है, तो now the subsidy comes to the bank. बैंक का भी लॉक इन पीरियड रहता है for 3 years, ठीक है. अब इसमें क्या होता है ना, डायरेक्ट आपका सब्सिडी आके आपके लोन अमाउंट में एडजस्ट नहीं होती। मैं टेक्निकलिटीज की बात कर रही हूँ। द सब्सिडी दैट यू गेट, सपोज आपको 50 लाख का लोन था एंड यू गॉट 10% एज अ बैंक एंडेड सब्सिडी, वो सब्सिडी डायरेक्ट आपके लोन अकाउंट में एडजस्ट नहीं हो जाएगा। बैंक क्या करती है, ये लोन अकाउंट, ये जो 10 लाख उनको मिला, वी कीप इट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ए फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट। जो फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट का इंटरेस्ट उस पर मिलेगा, दैट इज डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू बी पास्ड ऑन टू द बोरोअर। बट इसमें क्या होता है कि सपोज 10 लाख का मुझे सब्सिडी मिला है और आपका मेरा 50 लाख का लोन खड़ा हुआ है यहाँ पे, जिसपे मैं अपना ईएमआई और इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहा हूँ। तो बैंक जो अपना कैलकुलेशन करेगा, दैट विल बी ऑन द 40 लाख। वो 50 लाख का आपसे इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेंगे, बट दिस सब्सिडी विल बी रिलीज्ड only after a lock-in period of 3 years when they see that the loan is actually running fine without becoming an NPA. This is the rule that is followed in every bank. Now this is about back-end subsidy. Now one more thing that we get is interest subvention. Like आपका जो केसीसी वगैरह हो गया या फिर कुछ और स्टोरेज लोन्स वगैरह हो गया, उसमें क्या होता है कि दे डू नॉट गिव यू एनी सब्सिडी। दे व्हाट टू एनकरेज बिजनेसेस, व्हाट दे डू इज कि वो आपको एक लोअर रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में लोन मिलेगा आपको। Like if you are given an interest subvention of 3%, that means if the actual bank loan rate is 10% and the subvention you get is for 3%, तो आपको effective rate of interest 7% होगा। Even fair enough, वो भी आपके लिए बहुत easy हो जाता है। So this is मतलब if you go for subsidy, so these are the kinds of subsidy that we get, and these are the kind of benefits or kind of support that we get from government. And now if we go ahead to the next slide, after that comes the bank loan. Like I said earlier also, any kind of project you go for, there are two types of loans that banks can help you with. One is a medium or long-term loan for development or investment in projects. And another is short-term loan or the KCC facility. KCC facility is nothing more, I mean, here is like a working capital loan only. जैसे अगर आप किसी प्रोजेक्ट में जाते हो, आपने कल्टीवेशन के लिए आपने शेड बनाया और वट एवर जो भी आपने किया है, उसके बाद को तो आपको फिर कल्टीवेशन में करना है, तो में क्या आपके बहुत खर्चे होते हैं। लाइक इफ यू गो रिकरिंग कॉस्ट में आपका और एंड फ्यूल कॉस्ट है, आपका इंश्योरेंस हैज एंड व्हेन आपको रिपेयर एंड मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट रहता है, क्योंकि वो जो आपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स या फिर जो लगाया हुआ है उसका डिप्रिसिएशन का कॉस्ट रहता है। तो टू बेयर ऑल दीज थिंग्स वी गिव यू वर्किंग कैपिटल फैसिलिटी और दिस केसीसी फैसिलिटी। एंड लाइक एज आई सेड कि मार्जिन आपका 25% रहेगा फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ, आई मीन इफ यू गो फॉर दिस प्रोजेक्ट ऑफ पॉली हाउस, 25% ऑफ द मनी you have to bring in. Now coming to the eligibility criteria for, I mean, for any bank for that matter is like कोई भी अगर if you come for the basic eligibility criteria actually, if you today you come to a bank and you say that कि मुझे this is my project report and this is I want to go for a polyhouse construction for जरबेरा cultivation or any kind of capsicum cultivation for that matter, ये है तो मुझे लोन चाहिए। तो we bankers will first look at कि भाई इनके पास लैंड, कल्टिवेबल लैंड है कि नहीं, और अगर लैंड नहीं है तो वो लैंड क्या लॉन्ग टर्म लीज पे है या फिर प्राइवेट लीज है, तो एटलीस्ट 10 साल का लीज होना चाहिए। तो दिस इज ए मेन फैक्टर दैट वी विल लुक इनटू कि भाई ये है कि नहीं, दिस इज अ बेसिक थिंग वी हैव टू लुक इनटू। एंड देन वी विल आल्सो लुक इनटू योर क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री कि आपने कहीं और पहले से लोन लिया था, अगर आपने कहीं से लोन लिया है वेदर इट इज रनिंग फाइन और नॉट, तो उसमें वी हैव डिफरेंट मैकेनिज्म्स like CIBIL, like Equifax, कुछ external agencies है, we get reports from them, and then we get to know on the basis of your PAN number, on the basis of your Aadhaar number, other ID proofs that you give, we generate the CIBIL reports, we generate credit reports, and then we get to know that नहीं actually ठीक है, borrower अपना अच्छा है, and they do not have any overdues with any banks and FIs. These is the basic criteria we will look into when we go for any kind of loans. Now, if you go for this polyhouse thing, see, when we go for any kind of loan, तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि यार आपने लोन लिया आज और कल हम बैंक बोलेगा कि नहीं आप वापस कर दो। क्या होता है कि वी एनालाइज कि कोई प्रोजेक्ट अगर कोई स्टार्ट कर रहा है तो इनिशियली मे बी फॉर द फर्स्ट 1 or 2 years इट इनकम जनरेशन विल बी डिफिकल्ट, एंड इफ द इनकम जनरेशन विल बी डिफिकल्ट तो फिर लोन बंदा जो बोरोवर ने लिया हुआ है या फिर जिसने बिजनेस किया वो लिया, हाउ ही इज गोइंग टू पे बैक दैट लोन? What we do is we give a moratorium holiday to the borrowers कि नहीं चलो ठीक है, ये 2 साल आपका मोरेटोरियम है, इस टाइम पे आपको टाइम दिया जा रहा है, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क, मतलब ऐसा नहीं सी ऐसा नहीं है, बैंक आर ऑल्सो इनटू प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस, तो ऐसा नहीं कि इस टाइम पे आपको इंटरेस्ट चार्ज नहीं होगा, इंटरेस्ट चार्ज होगा, बट वी विल नॉट डिमांड दैट इंटरेस्ट और पेमेंट फ्रॉम यू। हम आपको मोरेटोरियम देंगे कि आप इस टाइम के बीच में what you do is you focus on your business, you try to get income, and after this moratorium holiday of 2 years you start repaying to the banks. So depending on that आपका जो repayment period tenure decide होता है, and I mean it might go up from 4 to 12 years depending on the activity actually. Now after that comes the security part. भाई मतलब क्या होता है कि if we, I mean, see we bankers, since we are dealing with public money, ऐसा तो नहीं कि बैंक अपना फंड्स यूज करता है लोन देने के लिए। व्हाट वी डू इज वी गेट डिपॉजिट्स फ्रॉम पीपल लाइक यू, एंड देन फ्रॉम दैट डिपॉजिट्स वी अगेन गो एंड लेंड टू पीपल हु आर इन नीड ऑफ दैट, जो बिजनेस करना चाहते हैं या वो एनी काइंड ऑफ रिटेल लोन, घर लेना चाहते हैं, कार लेना चाहते हैं, एनी काइंड ऑफ लोन पीपल वांट, वी यूज द पब्लिक मनी दैट वी हैव कलेक्टेड to actually lend it to people who need it. So since we are dealing with public money, we have to be very careful with what we are in choosing our borrowers, in choosing our customers, in following the guidelines that banks has set, in the following the guidelines that RBI has set. So for any kind of loan, security is a must. There are two types of security. मैं आपको ना एकदम banking terms में बता रही हूँ मैं. There are two types of security that we look for. One is the primary security. Primary security here means कि जिस पर्पस के लिए मैंने लोन दिया एंड द थिंग दैट इज कमिंग आउट ऑफ दैट, सपोज इफ आई एम गिविंग ए लोन फॉर कल्टिवेशन, तो कल्टिवेशन के लिए मैं लोन दे रही हूँ, तो व्हाट इज उसका रिजल्ट क्या है? द क्रॉप्स आर द रिजल्ट, क्रॉप्स ग्रो कर रहे हैं, राइट? इफ आई गो फॉर एनी अदर काइंड ऑफ, जैसे आपको कोल्ड स्टोरेज कंस्ट्रक्शन, ये जैसे ये पॉली हाउस कंस्ट्रक्शन भी हो गया, I'm giving loan for construction of that poly house also. So जो base आपका खड़ा हुआ है, that is from our bank's money that you have erected. So any asset that is created out of bank finance that includes the civil structure or that includes the crop, that will be hypothecated to us. I mean, we will keep that as security, and that is the primary security. Now, banks, what they do is they ask for collateral security as well. In agriculture sector, what happens is, as per RBI guidelines, if the loan amount is up to 1.6 lakh, we will not ask for any security. But if the loan amount goes above 1.6 lakh, then we will ask for security. अगर आप basic agriculture activity करते हो, then the security here includes the mortgage of land in where the activity is undertaken. जहाँ जिस लैंड पे आपका एक्चुअली आपका काम हो रहा है, वी विल मॉर्गेज दैट लैंड. अगर बट यहाँ पे एक चीज ये है कि अगर आप लीज लैंड पे काम कर रहे हो, इट्स नॉट योर लैंड, जैसे मैंने आपको बोला था कि आप लीज पे ले रहे हो फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट, फ्रॉम एनी अदर पब्लिक बॉडी और फ्रॉम एनी अदर प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशन, तो इन दैट सेंस उस टाइम पे क्या होगा कि आपको जो कोलैटरल सिक्योरिटी हम लोग मांगेंगे, तो एक कोलैटरल मतलब जो सपोर्टिंग सिक्योरिटी अगर हम जो मांग रहे हैं, दैट विल बी मिनिमम 125% ऑफ द लोन अमाउंट. सी जो ये परसेंटेज मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, बताऊंगी आगे जाके भी अबाउट द 100% और 125%, तो दिस विल वेरी फ्रॉम बैंक टू बैंक, बट इन जनरल आपको एटलीस्ट 100% सिक्योरिटी विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू बी प्रोवाइडेड टू बैंक्स व्हेन यू गो फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ लोन, if the loan amount goes above 1.6 lakh for agriculture activity. Now coming to the next product that we mostly deal into is construction of cold storage. See, I mean, Now coming to the industry scenario, we all know that India is the largest producer of fruits and the second largest producer of vegetables. But still, the per capita availability of fruits and vegetables is quite low. And mostly because of the post-harvest losses. Sorry. Mostly because of the post-harvest losses that we go into, because of non-availability of a proper cold chain arrangement. And because of this, what happens is, जो भी हम produce करते हैं, we have to immediately sell it off, and this leads to distress sale. If we are able to preserve it, if we are able to save it, and we are able to actually sell it at a time when the production is low, then we get a good amount of profit. For that thing, actually what we need is we have to go for construction of good cold storages. So being agri entrepreneurs, I think this is the best thing we should go for. And abhi kya hua hai, like recently government, this year government of India, I mean there are many schemes related to this jahan pe aapko subsidy mil raha hai, where government is actually helping you with this. बट मैं आपको देख रही थी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का एक एक्चुअली मतलब एग्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड करके अभी सब्सिडाइज स्कीम आया है. इट इज एंड दे हैव अलॉटेड अराउंड 1 lakh crore फॉर द फार्म गेट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. So without wasting these others, I mean, this is a slide that includes different type of storages like warehouse, cold storage, market yard, and silo and all that. Here also, I mean, just like a poly house, the major heads of cost includes your land cost, your civil constructions, plant and machinery, the recurring expenses like electrification, your insurance, repair and maintenance, etc. Here also I have given you a model, shared with you a model project. You can go through it. I'm not wasting much time on this because I'm sure from the sessions from NABARD and all, you would have already gone through this. And as I already am repeating this, as I already said that I will be sharing this model projects. These are just in Excel formulas have been put in. You can just put in your number of units, your unit cost, and come to the cost, actual cost of the project. Here also for cold storage, we have different kinds of subsidies. And the subsidies here, I mean, mostly you get is from 35 to 50% of the total cost of plant and machinery and installation, you'll be getting as subsidy. The basic requirements here also will be for subsidies and nature and bank loan. Bank loan here also for cold storages also you will be getting term loan for construction of the storage, and cash credit facility for meeting the recurring expenses or for running of the storage and for meeting to your day-to-day expenses. And like I said, the basic eligibility criteria for this also is like we will see the credit history of the borrowers. Now, if we come to the tenure of the loan, the tenure of the loan actually for depending on different projects, it will vary. For cultivation of gerbera in a polyhouse, it was around 12 years. For this term loan, it's around for cold storage, it's around 9 years. And now coming to the security, here also the primary security will be on the charge on the assets created out of bank finance. For term loan and for the collateral security, just I said in the earlier slide also that it will be around 100%. And for the CCOD facility, for the cash credit limit, it will be around 150%. And here what happens is like कि जैसे आप direct agriculture, one more thing I want to tell you कि अगर if you go for direct agriculture activity, so the land that you mortgage with us can be an agriculture land. But if you go for any other allied activities, business on that, in that case आपको जो agriculture land अगर आप लिए हुए हो, then you have to convert that to a non-agriculture land, and then that can be accepted as a collateral security. मतलब सी मतलब सिंस यू आपको लग रहा होगा यार एग्रीकल्चर लैंड मॉर्गेज करने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है, व्हाई डू आई हैव टू नीड टू ये थिंग इज दैट वी हैव इन बैंकिंग वी हैव ए सरफेसी एक्ट. जब व्हेनेवर ए लोन गोज एनपीए वी नीड टू अटैच दैट लैंड एंड वी हैव टू सेल इट ऑफ, और उसको सेल करके जो मिलता है वी हैव टू एडजस्ट दैट टू लोन्स एज पर सरफेसी एक्ट. एग्रीकल्चर लैंड इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. तो एग्रीकल्चर पर्पज के लिए आप एग्रीकल्चर लैंड ले सकते हो, बट सेलिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर लैंड इज एक्चुअली वेरी टफ टास्क. So if the basic thing we are going for a project where we just going for cultivation, in that case we take agriculture land as a mortgage. But for all other activities, अगर आपका agriculture land है, then you have to convert it to a non-agriculture land. चलो ठीक है, अगर वो भी नहीं है, then what else we can give as a security to bank? Any kind of residential land and building, any kind of commercial land and building, any kind of fixed deposits you have. अगर आपके पास लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसीज है, केवी किसान विकास पत्र है, एनएससीज है, वो भी आप कर सकते हो. इवन यू कैन प्लेज दैट आल्सो एज सिक्योरिटी टू बैंक्स. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ आपको प्रॉपर्टी ही सिक्योरिटी में देना है. ये जो मैंने आपको अभी बोला कि नाउ ये न्यू स्कीम हैज कम अप फॉर फाइनेंसिंग अंडर एग्रीकल्चर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड. ये जो है ये आई मीन दिस इज अ वेरी बिग एंड वेरी गुड इनिशिएटिव दैट हैज बीन टेकन बाय गवर्नमेंट. और इसमें दे आर एक्चुअली कवरिंग अप टू थिंग्स एंड टू यूनिक थिंग्स एक्चुअली. एक तो ये आपका जो कोल्ड चेन्स लॉजिस्टिक फैसिलिटी है, पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट है, वो तो दे आर कवरिंग. Along with that, they are also giving, loans for projects for building community farming, like organic inputs production, जो आपका manure production हो गया, vermi compost का unit हो गया, and all that. They will be providing loans for that. They will be giving loans for biostimulant production units, infrastructure for smart and precision agriculture, and for other supply chain infrastructure. I mean, this is a new thing I saw actually कि ये सब पहले included नहीं था, and these things have been actually included in the infrastructure lending now. यहाँ पे जो आपका tenure रहेगा for this scheme, at least it will be for 7 years, including the moratorium holiday that you will be getting. आपको capital subsidy जो है आपको around 10% ही मिलेगा, ठीक है, and बाकी आपको at least 10% आपको मार्जिन लेना पड़ेगा. एंड द बेस्ट थिंग यूएसपी ऑफ दिस स्कीम इज, जैसे मैंने आपको बोला था कि 25% ऑफ द जो प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट है यू हैव टू ब्रिंग इन एज योर फंड, बट यहाँ पे दैट हैज बीन मिनिमाइज्ड एंड 90% ऑफ द कॉस्ट विल बी एक्चुअली टेकन एज अ बैंक लोन एंड 10% ओनली हैज टू बी गिवन टू ब्रॉट इन बाय यू. इसमें जो सिक्योरिटी आपको देना है प्राइमरी, जस्ट आई सेड कि जैसे जो आपने कंस्ट्रक्ट किया दैट विल बी आवर प्राइमरी सिक्योरिटी, एंड कोलैटरल जो है अप टू 2 करोड़ आपको उसमें सीजीटी एमएससी कवर रहेगा. सीजीटी एमएससी इज अनदर बॉडी, ठीक है, क्रेडिट गारंटी ट्रस्ट फॉर माइक्रो एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस. ये इंस्टीट्यूट क्या करता है, जस्ट टू प्रमोट बिजनेस एंड दैट टू एट द सेम टाइम गिविंग ए कंफर्ट टू बैंकर्स. वो लोग 2 करोड़ तक अगर कोई लोन होता है, ठीक है, आप लोन लेते हो, तो इसमें अगर सपोज इफ यू डू नॉट हैव सिक्योरिटी, आपके पास सिक्योरिटी नहीं है, तो आप तो बिजनेस स्टार्ट नहीं कर पाओगे. टू हेल्प यू विद दैट फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ नॉट एग्रीकल्चर लोन, एनी काइंड ऑफ एग्री अलाइड एक्टिविटीज, एंड इफ योर firm is recognized as a MSC, micro or small enterprise, so not medium, then in that case आप अगर लोन लेते हो, you do not have security, you can tell banks that I want to cover my loan under CGT MSC. CGT MSC में आप 2 करोड़ तक का आपका लोन आपका कवर हो जाएगा, आपको अलग से कोलैटरल सिक्योरिटी देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. बट हाँ, CGT MSC charges a certain amount from the borrower. Suppose क्या होता है कि अगर बैंक is charging you suppose 10% for this loan, तो CGT MSC का चार्जेस आपको और 2% एक्स्ट्रा बेयर करना पड़ेगा. बट आई थिंक दैट्स फाइन, बिकॉज अगर मेरे पास सिक्योरिटी है नहीं, मैं कुछ स्टार्ट नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, उससे बेहतर ये है कि वी गो फॉर दिस काइंड ऑफ कवर एंड देन वी स्टार्ट आवर बिजनेस. दो इनिशियली कॉस्टिंग आपको थोड़ा ज्यादा पड़ेगा. एंड इफ द लोन अमाउंट इज अबव 2 करोड़, तो क्या कर सकते हैं, सपोज अगर 4 करोड़ का लोन है, तो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज 2 crore will be covered under CGTMAC, and the other 2 for the 2 crore you have to bring in security. Now, in the subsidy details for this loan, see, जैसा मैंने आपको बोला था कि interest subvention रहता है, यहाँ पे interest subvention you are getting of 3% per annum for to a limit of 2 crore. तो अगर आपको 10% बैंक चार्ज कर रही है and 3% you are getting as interest subvention, तो आपको actually 7% पड़ रहा है, and that is really very cheap. Now, similarly, जैसे ये था, and then one more thing government has come up now recently is with Animal Husbandry and Infrastructure Development Fund. See here, ये इनका जो objective है, mostly to go for, to setting up milk processing units, dairy units. तो इसके ऊपर ये फोकस, दिस इज मोर टुवर्ड्स एनिमल हस्बेंड्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मतलब एनिमल हस्बेंड्री का जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिक्वायरमेंट है फॉर फूड प्रोसेसिंग एंड ऑल, उसके ऊपर ज्यादा ये ओरिएंटेड है. The eligible activities under this scheme will be dairy processing, your ice cream unit, cheese manufacturing unit, meat processing unit, large scale integrated meat processing and all that. And here be the main USP or the unique of this loan is कि आपको 90% of the loan project cost है, that will be borne by bank, and 10% only you have to bring in as your own funds. But इसमें एक clause है, if your enterprise, unit, if you start up as a very big unit or आपका medium enterprise है, then you have to go for 50%, or otherwise 10% से हो जाएगा. And your also interest subvention is available for 3% to all eligible entities. And that here you see, वहाँ पे आपको एग्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फंड में 3% इंटरेस्ट सबवेंशन वाज अवेलेबल फॉर लोन्स अप टू 2 crore, बट यहाँ पे आपका कोई ऐसा कैप नहीं है. The repayment period is around 8 years and it includes a moratorium of 2 years on repayment of principal. See, यहाँ पे भी आपको ये बोला जा रहा है कि before you start this, you should have availability of land and there should be some statutory clearances that is required. जो long term lease पे आप, if you have your own land, well and good. If you're going for a long term lease, so minimum 30 years का lease होना चाहिए. That is what they are saying actually. Now coming to the next slide on poultry farming. See, I'll not go much into all these things. Poultry farming तो आपको क्या है poultry farming and all that, I think मेरे से ज़्यादा आपको ज़्यादा अच्छे से पता है. And then here also the major cost that includes is your land cost, your civil construction, जो आपका brooder shed रहता है, brooder से then grower shed रहता है, then layer shed रहता है, the equipments that you use like cages and all, आपका fuel cost रहता है, preliminary expenses cost रहता है, repair and maintenance रहता है. So these are the costs. Like in general आपका business में, कोई भी business में आपका जो basic cost रहता है वो सब ऑलमोस्ट सेम रहता है, बट वही होता है कि डिपेंडिंग ऑन द रिक्वायरमेंट आपको सिविल कंस्ट्रक्शंस विल बी डिफरेंट और आपका सम प्लांट एंड मशीनरी विल बी डिफरेंट. नाउ हियर आल्सो poultry loans में usually what they do is like 75% of the project cost will be borne by banks and 25% will be done by you. The primary and collateral security norms will be almost the same. I will not go much into the details here. And here the next slide is for solar financing. See, this is actually not for any kind of business. ये मैंने आपको ये slide में इसलिए share कर रही हूँ. Reason being, see, if we go for any kind of businesses, like power and electricity is now actually very costly. And solar power that we are getting now is absolutely free of cost. Just the thing what we have to do is we have to channelize it in a proper way so that you can actually store that energy and we can use it later. So if we go for any kind of businesses that we do, we go for agri-business, for any kind of businesses we do, if we can reduce the expenses that we do on our electricity and power, will be very helpful and will be ultimately profitable for us. So this is a slide I'm showing is for, if we go for any kind of businesses up, instead of going for electricity, go for solar financing. This is just a suggestion from my end. आप इसके लिए भी banks are also financing. This is not a business. आप अलग से you can go for a business for installation of these and all. But if you are going for any kind of manufacturing unit or any kind of business and you need electricity, so if you go for solar systems, subsidies are made available by government. आपको बैंक भी लोन देगा and you can actually go for these kind of projects along with the projects that you start so that you can minimize your cost. Now see, this slide that I have put in is very important. This is the indicative list of statutory clearances that you have to get if you want to start a business. Local authority से तो आपको clearance लेना ही है as per the state requirements. If you have like आपका leasehold property है, ठीक है, और ownership आपका नहीं है, then you have to take a no objection from the land authority. And on that basis only, you can actually mortgage that land for taking a loan. Then you are consent to operate from the state pollution control board. See, जैसे आप अगर proper cultivation के लिए poly house वगैरह के लिए जाते हो, then there is no need for taking a consent from the pollution control board. जिसमें pollution कुछ होता नहीं है. But if you go for any other business like cold storages हो गए, जहाँ पे आपका machinery and equipments you are using actually, and that might actually मतलब जो उससे जो आपका extract निकलता है, if that is going to any way hamper the environment, then you have to go to state pollution control board and take a permission. Trade licenses for retail trading of your produce. Food and Safety Standard Authority of India से आपको license लेना पड़ेगा if you go for cold storages or setting up of food processing units. State Electricity Board say for all the electric work that you want to do. MSME registration for MSME companies only. If you want to go for simple agriculture, आपको MSME registration नहीं चाहिए. But otherwise, if you go for any kind of the other activities, तो आपको MSME registration is also required. Now, what government has made mandatory is you have to go for Udyog Aadhaar number as well. Abhi March 2021 tak it is. It's not compulsory, but after that, it's going to be compulsory if you go for any kind of businesses. I've not mentioned, I have forgotten to mention here in this slide, but आपको उद्योग आधार नंबर के लिए apply करना पड़ेगा. And that's very easy. See, the best thing of digitization now is you actually need not go to any consultant for all this. Everything is available online. You have to attach some documents. Everything is digitized. आपको कहीं जाके ऑफिस के सरकारी ऑफिस के धक्के नहीं खाने. You just go to the website, upload the documents required, apply for that, and you get your certificates. You need not actually go to any consultant for this. उद्योग आधार नंबर see मतलब आप लोगों को लग रहा हो कि मतलब maybe I do not have any business, how can you say I can say all these things. जैसे उद्योग आधार number and all, when initially started, the customers came to us, madam kaise karna, how do we do that, because they come to us for help as well. So in fact, I sat with a customer, I actually tried doing that, and we did it very successfully and very fastly. So it's actually not a rocket science. You can directly go to the sites and get this permissions. Now coming to the documentation that banks require for loan application. Now, please, I really want you all to focus on this slide. I will not take much of your time now. I know this session has gone for a very long time. But in between, if you have, again, I'm repeating you, if you have any questions, if you have any queries, please do feel free to ask. Now coming to the documentation for loan application. See, the first and foremost thing that bankers will look into is KYC. Now KYC is what? Know your customer. Know your customer is a term for bankers. For knowing our customer, what we need is the basic identity and address proof and a photograph, right? And then if you are a firm, if you are a proprietorship firm, if you are a partnership firm, you are a company, then we will be requiring you a certificate of registration also. That will be considered as an identity of a firm or a company. Then like other permissions and license certificates, the previous slide included that जो भी license or certificate होगा for that applicable for that business that we are going to do, that will be required. The food safety license, like all kind of food business, आपको food safety license चाहिए होगा. This is just an example that will be required. Layout map of the project area with roads or landmarks. जो आपका project बनेगा, ठीक है? You have to give a kind of map to the bank. This is the road connectivity. These are the landmarks. ये map है मेरा, ठीक है? So this is how banks actually find out कि नहीं चलो ठीक है, and this is how they assess the viability of the project. चलो ठीक है, if somebody is starting this business, वो यहाँ construct कर रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, तो how he is going to market his produce? तो क्या road facilities available हैं आसपास में? क्या वहाँ पे पास में रेलवे स्टेशन है, क्या पास में एयरपोर्ट है, कोई ऐसा कनेक्टिविटी है कि यहाँ पास में स्टोरेजेस है कि वो एक्चुअली उस प्रोड्यूस को हेल्प, मतलब इट कैन हेल्प हिम सेल दैट प्रोड्यूस और मार्केट दैट प्रोड्यूस. ठीक है. Then the thing that we discuss about the detailed project report. Then what we require is copies of your land records. Like I said, कि for every loan we need a security. आपका अगर if you go for an agriculture loan 1.6 lakh के ऊपर अगर आप लोन ले रहे हो, then we require mortgage of your agriculture land. And for all any other type of business, अगर आपका loan amount 10 lakh से ऊपर जा रहा है as per RBI instruction, then you have to bring in security. But like again I am repeating, अगर आपके पास security नहीं है, you need not worry at all. You can actually, we can avail security or we can avail this loan by taking the help of CGTMSE cover. Now next is the copy of land records that we require. I said कि आपका land records का copy चाहिए होगा. Any permission here means if it is agricultural land, then it should be converted to non-agricultural land. The permission should be there with you. Now, the next most important thing is the quotations of the machinery and equipment. See, जो आप अभी बनाओगे, right? If you want to, ये मेरा structure है and इसमें मुझे ये machinery लगाना है, वो machinery लगाना है and all that. So we need a quotation for that. You will go to that vendor. आप वेंडर के पास जाओगे, आपको बोलोगे आई एम स्टार्टिंग दिस बिजनेस, मुझे ये चीज खरीदना है. यू विल गेट ए कोटेशन फ्रॉम देम. आप कोटेशन हमें दोगे कि नहीं, मतलब अलोंग विद दैट प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट, इन सपोर्ट ऑफ दैट यू विल बी गिविंग कोटेशन कि दिस मशीन का ये कॉस्ट है. एंड व्हाट वी डू इज वी एनालाइज दैट. हम लोग मार्केट में असेस करेंगे कि एक्चुअल रेट क्या होता है. एंड देन व्हाट वी डू इज, जैसे मशीनरी एंड ऑल हो गया आपका, so we will not directly give that amount, loan will not be disbursed to you, it will be going to the vendor concerned. तो इसके लिए हमें quotations चाहिए होता है for the machinery or the equipment or other fixed assets that we are actually installing. फिर अगर if you are going for any kind of construction and all, जैसे cold storage है ना, तो आपका approved plan और जो आपका civil engineer से आपका estimate आपको लेना पड़ता है. This you have to actually be dependent on the civil engineer. आपको एक वो approved plan लेना पड़ेगा आपको local authority से कि here I can go for this construction. Now coming to the detailed KYC that the banks require. Like as I said, it's KYC, governments know your customer. This is a banking term. For individual borrowers, आपका simple identity और address proof आपको सबको ही, we all know what identity and address proof means. आपका PAN card हो गया, आधार कार्ड हो गया, ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस, वोटर आईडी कार्ड, ये सब आपका आईडी प्रूफ में जाएगा. इवन कुछ आपका एड्रेस प्रूफ में भी जाएगा. ना इफ यू आर इंडिविजुअल बोरोवर, banker, if you go to a bank, we just need these as identity proofs. But if you are a proprietorship firm या फिर partnership firm or company, then we require some certain other documents as well. Proprietorship firm में आपका अगर certificate of registration होगा, तो trade license हो गया, GST registration certificate हो गया. See, one more thing I want to say here about, क्योंकि GST अभी हर जगह mandatory हो गया है, तो GST registration is also must. But if you are going for any kind of activities that is direct agriculture, सीधा क्रॉप कल्टीवेशन के लिए आप जा रहे हो, वहां पे आपका जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. वहां आपको जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन की एक्चुअली जरूरत नहीं है. बट देन अगेन, अगर आपको ये भी लग रहा है कि नहीं मैं बहुत ही छोटा बिजनेस अभी स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ एंड माई टर्नओवर, दैट इज माई सेल फॉर द ईयर, will not go above 20 lakh, then also I need not go for registration. These are the two exemptions. Otherwise, आपको GST registration के लिए actually जाना पड़ेगा. Now coming to partnership firm. See, partnership firm is kind of a firm or an entity. Like 2-3 people having common interest will join together and make a firm by signing a partnership deed. पार्टनरशिप डील जो होता है उसमें आपके सारे क्लॉजेस रहते हैं कि दिस विल बी द क्लॉजेस एंड जनरल टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस बिटवीन द पार्टनर्स टू वर्क टुगेदर फॉर ए कॉमन कॉज. For a partnership firm, we'll be requiring a PAN card of the partnership entity. See, you will see, you can ask a proprietorship firm ke liye, why don't we look for PAN card? Proprietorship firm and an individual is almost considered as same. Proprietorship मतलब एक अकेला बंदा ही जो इंडिविजुअल है, he has registered that firm as a proprietorship firm. तो proprietorship firm के केस में क्या होता है? What happens is the PAN card we consider as PAN card of the individual itself. Proprietorship firm का अलग से PAN card नहीं होता है. And then if you go for partnership, like continuing with the partnership firm, we require the PAN card, we require the partnership deed. In certain states, आपका partnership जो firm होता है, that needs to be registered as well. So we require the registration certificate of the firm, address proof of the entity. In one of my slide later on, I will tell you what are the address proof of the entities that we seek from the partnership firms and the companies and all. And then the identity and address proof of the partners as well. Now, if we come to this public limited or a private limited company, here the documents are a little bit different. We require certificate of incorporation, your memorandum and articles of association. These, just like a partnership deed, these are also a kind of preamble kind of thing for a company. The PAN card of the company identity number, address proof of the entity, and then the identity and address proof of directors and promoters. Here I have also given you the list of documents that we require for a limited liability partnership as well. I'll just tell you the difference between a normal partnership firm and a limited liability partnership firm. Here what happens is, like, partnership firm में आपका जो liability होता है partners का and responsibility होता है, it is equal. But in a limited liability partnership, in the partnership deed, they will mention that their liability and their responsibility will be limited to a certain extent. So this is a different kind of firm altogether. And for company also, I want to tell you one thing. आपको कोई company start करना है कभी, तो it's not required कि आपको 4-5 लोग इकट्ठे करेंगे, directors बनेंगे, कोई managing director बनेगा, कोई additional director बनेगा, then only company can be formed. No, now we have a provision for one person company also. If you want to start your own company, individually, you can go for that as well. Now, as I was saying, this was a proof of address from entities that this is a list of proof of address from entities that we can get. Any certificate issued by agriculture, by APMCs, by KVIC, Central Pollution State or Central Pollution Control Board. फिर आपको रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ फर्म्स और कंपनीज का जो सर्टिफिकेट इशू होता है, एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट से, ट्रेड लाइसेंसेस, जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेट, योर वैलिड शॉप्स एंड एस्टेब्लिशमेंट सर्टिफिकेट. अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट के लिए जाते हो, देन यू हैव टू गो फॉर इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट कोड सर्टिफिकेट. और नॉर्मल आपको डीआईसी या स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज सर्टिफिकेट में एनी वन ऑफ दिस will actually suffice as a address proof of the entity. Now this is the general guidelines for obtaining subsidy. Like I had already, this is just a repetitive slide कि मैंने आपको वही बोला था कि जैसे whenever we start for a business, along with the project report, we have to think of the finances as well, and this is a major concern actually. The finances में, as I said, we have two options, two portions. One is subsidy that is given by government, and the other is the bank loans. Bank loans का तो आपको बता ही दिया. Subsidy का we have already told you what kind of subsidies what we get. One is capital subsidy and back end subsidy and the interest subvention as well. ये subsidy हमें कैसे मिलता है? That is the only process. That is the thing that is written in this slide, just in 4 points. आपको project report बनाना है. You go for application of the loan to the banks. आपको फिर in principle sanction letter मिल जाता है. And then you go to the respective boards for application of the subsidy. This is a simple thing that you have to do. See, what happens is, like, since we haven't started, हमें लगता है कि नहीं, this is going to be very difficult. This is going to be a very difficult thing to start a new business. No dear, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. And we as bankers are always there to help you. And to look, very honest confession, we do have very stiff competition in market. We ourselves are going out and looking for customers. तो अगर आप लोग खुद से कुछ करना चाहते हो, if you start something of your own, please feel free to walk into a bank and apply for that. people are there to help you. We have specific departments for that. They will also help you preparing the project report as well. As I have already, I'm reiterating again, I will share the project reports that we actually use while assessing the notes that are actually very simple. आप उसमें सिर्फ numbers डालोगे and your entire project report will be ready. What you have to, the basic thing that you have to look for is like the amount of margin that you have to get into, आपको जितना funds आपको arrange करना है, and where you have to construct that. This is the main two things that you have to think of. And then the last part is how do you market your produce. So with this I conclude my talk on this session. So if you have any doubt or queries, please feel free to ask, because I have been talking so long for such a time, and I haven't been able to. So any question, let's just have a few people who want to interact and who have any doubt.
So thank you very much, madam. Actually, now we have come to end of this productive learning session, and I now would request students to have some questions. Though one question is floating in the chat box, I will read out for you, madam. The question is how to convert agricultural land into non-agricultural land. Does it require any paperwork, or from where we need to seek the help for this kind of
Yes, yes, this actually requires some paperwork. You have to pay a certain amount. It will vary from state to state, and you have to pay a certain amount of money depending on the area of the land for conversion of that agricultural land to non-agricultural land. That will vary from state to state. You have to go to your local state authority, जो आपका जो registrar office होता है, and आपका जो revenue authority, you have to go to them, and then you have to find out. जैसे ये कोई fixed amount नहीं रहता है, state to state that will vary, and it will, I mean, you have to bear some cost for that. Any other questions? See, issue नहीं मेरा मतलब we do not have, जरूरी नहीं है when we start up that we will be having एकदम land and everything will be readily available for with me for giving as a security. So as I said already कि आप कोई भी आप project start कर रहे हो जो आपका non agriculture project है, not exactly not agriculture, agri allied project जो है, आपको 2 crore up to 2 crore आपको CGTMSE से भी cover मिल रहा है. तो you actually need not go, मतलब इधर उधर होने की जरूरत नहीं है for finding a security.
I think, madam, students are feeling reluctant to ask questions, so we must conclude it.
What happens is कि actually online session it's very difficult. I mean, when we see to मतलब actually see each other तो ज़्यादा अच्छा लगता है. I understand that. But
So well,
see.
Yes, ma'am.
I have my personal email ID and mobile number in the slide as well. Anytime, any kind of help that you require, कभी भी you go for a startup, or as and when कुछ भी आपको जरूरत लगेगा, please feel free to give me a call or mark a mail to me. I am just a phone call or email away.
So now we have come to the end of this very productive learning session, and so on the behalf of Navsari Agricultural University, with great sense of gratitude, I am now availing this opportunity to reveal my unfeigned thanks to Sarita madam for taking her valuable time out for delivering us such a nice talk on this very important topic, which is actually not generally covered under horticulture curriculum. And I think students might have learned a lot, and may get some kind of motivation to start up their uh, entrepreneurship mind, because this series is exclusively meant to build up the morale of students during this COVID-19 pandemic period, and we are trying hard in association with such nice speakers to motivate you people. So thank you very much, madam, once again for joining this session and taking our students to a greater learning heights in relation to uh, various agriculture synergy program. So thank you very much, madam.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Sachin.
Great. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
बहुत बढ़िया सेशन रहिला है.
Thank you so much. I don't know how productive it will be for the students. It's actually
नहीं
difficult.
actually this type of information are not covered in our course curriculum. So we need a session like this in every semester actually. Okay. So at least for the people of this 7th semester student, we need every year we like you to at least have one online lecture at least. Okay. If time permit also, we can call you over here. But since you are banking people, you may not be available for coming to Navsari. But if possible, then we'll ask you to come over Navsari and deliver a lecture on this one to next year
That would be
student.
a big honor, actually.
Okay.
And
Thank
before
you.
getting and madam, before getting dispersed in future projects also, we would like to have your valuable and technical inputs related to banking sector, particularly for students, ma'am.
Okay, definitely, sure, sir.
Okay,
And
thank
sir,
you
I
very
will
much.
share my slides and project reports with you, so you can share with the students. That will be actually be very helpful for them. Now, we have this mindset. Whenever we go, actually when business start करना है, only we have to go to a CA or a consultant.
Mhm.
But actually
Yeah.
वैसा होता नहीं है. Since we as a banker, we also do not have much technical expertise, and if we are able to assess the viability of the project, I'm sure the students can, because they have more technical expertise.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely, madam.
So I just hope this session
So,
will be fruitful. And once again, to all the students, thank you so much for joining, for bearing my session for a long 1.5 year, half hour. So any kind of, again, I'm telling you, any kind of issues or any kind of problems you face regarding banking sector, not only regarding loans, any other thing also, please contact me. As I'm telling you again, I'm just an email or a phone call away.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.